I am Sarah, and there is one thing about love that most people truly grasp only after it has already slipped away forever. I did not discover the meaning of love from films or verses. I came to know it through quiet moments, lost opportunities, and one single letter that reached me many years too late. I was raised in a peaceful neighborhood where all the residents knew one another well. Living right next door was a boy named Ian. We were the same age. As children, we could not be separated. We walked to school side by side, chuckled over little things, and debated foolish topics. But by the afternoon, we would always return to being friends again. Back then, I never gave it much thought. To me, Ian was simply a natural part of daily life, like the old mango tree on our street or the evening call to prayer. But time has an unusual way of showing the true value of ordinary moments. As we grew older, things slowly shifted, not all at once, just tiny changes that only the heart can notice. Ian became more reserved. Sometimes he would look at me a little longer than usual, as though he wanted to speak but could never gather the courage. One day in college, I noticed something unusual. When I did not see him, the entire day felt incomplete. When he laughed, my heart felt lighter, and when he was sad, it somehow hurt me too, but neither of us said a single word. Certain emotions remain unspoken because people fear how the truth might alter everything. One evening, we were sitting on our rooftops, divided only by a low wall. The sky was orange and purple as the sun disappeared. Ian broke the silence. "Do you ever wonder where life will lead us?" He looked at the horizon. "Sometimes I wish time could stop just like this." I did not understand what he meant, or maybe I did not want to because some answers are frightening. A few months later, everything changed. My parents told me they had received a marriage proposal. The man lived in another city and held a good job. When my mother told me, I felt a strange heaviness in my chest, but I said nothing. That night, I stood on the rooftop again. Ian was there. He already knew. He did not ask any questions. Finally, he said something I will never forget. "I hope he makes you happy." Those words felt heavier than any confession. For a moment, I wanted to say something, anything, but the words never came. I simply nodded. That was our last real conversation. A few weeks later, I left the neighborhood as a bride. Years passed. I had children. Life became filled with responsibilities. But sometimes, the rooftop, the sunset, and the boy who once looked at me as if I meant the world to him returned to my mind. Then one rainy afternoon, 8 years later, I received a small envelope. No return address, just my name written in familiar handwriting. My heart began to race. I knew that handwriting. I opened the letter slowly. "Sarah, if you are reading this, it means I finally found the courage to send this letter. There were many things I wanted to tell you for years, but fear always stopped me. Fear of losing our friendship, fear that you might not feel the same, but the truth is simple. I loved you. I loved you when we walked to school as children. I loved you during our college days. I loved you when we watched sunsets on the rooftop. And I loved you the day you told me you were getting married. I stayed silent because your happiness mattered more than my feelings. Maybe in another life, things would be different, but I want you to know something. You were the most beautiful chapter of my life, and loving you was never a regret." Ian, by the time I finished reading, my tears blurred the page, but there was also another note from his mother. Ian had passed away 6 months earlier after a long illness. He had written the letter years ago but never sent it. I sat there for a long time holding the letter. The rain kept falling outside. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to remember everything, not with regret but with understanding, because love does not always become a relationship. Sometimes love becomes a quiet truth in someone's heart, sometimes it becomes a memory, and sometimes it becomes a letter that arrives too late. That night I stepped onto the balcony and looked up at the sky. The stars were hidden behind clouds. I whispered into the silence, "Thank you, Ian. Thank you for loving me so purely. Thank you for protecting my happiness even when it hurt you. Real love is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, sometimes it sacrifices, sometimes it waits. Even when it knows the answer will never come. If there is one thing this story taught me, it is this: never let fear stop you from speaking your heart. Because silence can steal the most beautiful words we were meant to say. And sometimes, the person who needed to hear them most will never get the chance." Remember to subscribe to our Midnight Story Vault channel for more inspiring stories like this.